Um, I listen to you every day.
Oh, well, I'm trying my best. Got to keep the fight going.
You certainly do. In my experience, you're the most prominent proponent of BSV Bitcoin, most public and most animated. And the thing is, I'd like to look at extending that into different kinds of promotion. A lot of what you do is observation and education. And I think what's needed is active, pointed promotion, just the same as advertising any product. As I'm not sure whether you had a chance to look at the paper that the video that I sent you the link to.
Oh, was that the one of you and Brett Banafee?
Yeah, and Brett and Kurt and Gavin Mill.
Oh, right. Okay. I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay, I think you'd like it. It
Excellent.
clarified a lot of my ideas. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a share screen of the main points of this, and I really want to hear your opinion of it. So you'll be doing a fair bit of talking. I've thought about this a lot, and basically I'm now at the point where, with a little bit of further checking, I can start doing active promotion, the same as any advertiser would, or any company doing advertising would, in small scale, and then maybe building up if I got support. Um, so I'm just going to do a share screen here. Share, and it'll be this one here. Screen one, share. And I'm going to bring across this document. Can you see a document now?
I've got a blank screen in front of me, which is I think your data. Oh, there we go. I can see it now.
All
How
right.
to reserve the BSV network's confused wrong public image to gain massive support and use.
Yeah. Now, to summarize this as my experience of BSV, I've been in crypto since 2014, but I only recently discovered, partly thanks to you, that BTC is a mistake, it's a diversion, and that BSV is the real thing. And since then, and that's many years, like 2 or 3 years, I suppose, I've read and spent hundreds of hours learning about it. I won't waste everybody's time with that. But the main thing now is I'm persuaded on the evidence I have that the main problem that BSV has not been adopted is, first of all, that it wasn't really ready until now, functionally, to actually do its job. With the Teranode, I think it is, and I've checked with and Kurt Wookert and Brett Banfi, and I'll check with you. You seem to think it's ready as well. And you
Hmm.
guys know more technically than I do. I've learned a lot from all of you. It seems now that it's ready, but its problem is that the public doesn't know about it yet. There's just a tumult of confusion and resentment and acrimony, and a lot of the confusion is the flare up of publicity about Craig Wright. Now, Craig is a very clever guy, and I believe he did create Bitcoin, but that's not the point. The real hero is the functionality of BSV. So, in all that noise and confusion, and with the issue of the court cases and whether or not Satoshi Nakamoto is a pen name of Craig Wright, the public has become confused. BSV has been hijacked, the Bitcoin has been hijacked into BTC. $2 trillion worth of investment has gone into it. That is a grave mistake because when it's found that BTC cannot scale, a lot of people may get hurt, especially if it happens fast. Anyway,
Hmm.
I'm going to go through this document, just a one-page document, and see what you think about it. The idea is how to reverse the BSV network's confused wrong public image to gain massive support and use. Basically, to switch over from the mistake of BTC to the success of the BSV network. Okay, so the first thing I'd say, I've only realized this in the last couple of weeks of focusing on the media aspect of this, the optics, how the public look at it, how governments look at it. I've only realized these things in the last few weeks, thanks to discussions with Kurt and Brett and Gavin. One of the things I discovered was that Craig Wright, in all good sincerity, has said that BSV Bitcoin is not for speculation. Now, the trouble is, I know what he means. He's basically saying, stop talking about getting rich and speculating on it. Focus on its functionality as a massive vehicle for transferring any size amount of money at almost zero cost to anywhere else, any other person on the planet. That's a micropayments or payments network. And secondarily, there's not much talk yet in the general public about it being a way of transferring data, that is, transforming the internet. Instead of residing on servers all over the world, Facebook and Google and stuff, to do that using the BSV network instead. There's almost no publicity about that. So the public see Bitcoin as a speculation. They don't see it as a really much of a transaction of either money or data. They just say, I'm going to get rich. So that's where $2 trillion has gone. And I think that it could easily crash and quite quickly because we're in a digital world now and things can happen very fast, like the .com and the savings and loan. It can be the same as that. Now, there's so much confusion I've concluded at the moment that I don't think it's going to happen fast, according to what I'm hearing from Kurt and Brett and so on. There's too much confusion for it to happen fast, but it could. So we've got to be ready for that. But anyway, coming back to the idea that Craig Wright's saying that BSV is not for speculation. I know what he means. He's saying, stop talking about getting rich. Start talking about the magnificent abilities of a payments network that can do super cheap transactions of money, super cheap transfers of data as an internet, and transform the world by making the internet available and very cheap and very efficient, and eliminating the centralized domination by big players like Google, Facebook, and X and so on. So why don't we do that instead? So I appreciate Craig Wright saying, yes, let's focus on the functionality for that. But the reality is that people have put $2 trillion into Let's Get Rich. And the funny thing is that BSV can do the same thing, and it could do it almost overnight. So we've got to face the reality that people want to get rich, and that's why most of them are in there. Now, it's maybe terrible and immoral that they should want to get rich or they get richer. But the thing is, if we say BSV is not for speculation, that sounds like it's a bad investment, which is a disaster for BSV. It is not a bad investment. It's an excellent investment. If you invest in Tesla because the cars are good and there's going to be humanoid robots and stuff, good on you. If you get rich when Tesla goes up, fine. So what I'm saying is that we've got to stop saying that we can't call BSV a good speculation or a good investment. We've got to say, if you want to really get rich, hedge yourself against a crash of the bubble BTC. Everybody must be at least a little bit nervous about a crash of BTC when it goes up and up and up, and people aren't sure. Most of those investors of the $2 trillion, they haven't a clue about the functionality of BTC. All they know is it's a new payment system. They don't know about scalability. They don't know about the cost of payments. They think the dollar per transaction is okay in BTC. They don't realize it can be a 10,000th of a cent using BSV. They don't know those things. They just say, it's going up, it's going up, it's great, everybody's in, let's do it, let's speculate. So that's what it is. But what we can say is, don't you think there's a bit of a risk that it could crash? They'll say, well, maybe, but it's all going up. And they say, well, how about at least hedging with $35 by buying one BSV? And while you're at it, why not do it 100 BSV? Because it seems that BSV could replace BTC and crash your money into nothing. And if you've hedged with BSV to get rich and to be safe, you go up where you were. Again, you're ahead of the pack and you can do very well. So I think that message might be very successful. There's got to be fear, even in the most devoted BTC supporters, that it could pop, especially the people that really don't know much about the functionality. They're hazy on, they're just following the crowd. So the first point on this paper that I'm showing you on screen here is we've got to
Can you enlarge that for everybody, Bruce?
Say again?
Can you enlarge that for everybody?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you just go down to the bottom left of your screen. Yeah, there we go. Brilliant.
Can you see it now?
That's it. Yep, excellent.
So the first point I'm going to ask you about, let's cover it point by point. I'm saying, let's stop saying that BSV is not for speculation, because that's counterproductive to what we want to do. We want to get attention to BSV. And the best way of getting attention and support is to say, you'll get rich. You reckon you're going to get rich with BTC? Just wait till you see BSV go up. What do you think?
Well, the word speculation, like when speculation is gambling. Speculation is without knowing. That's why you speculate, because you're guessing without true knowledge. So when Craig is saying it's no good for speculators, what he's saying is that it's no good for gamblers. Gamblers kind of like go in and come out and go in and come out and sort of like look at the odds. Whereas BSV is a sure thing. It only goes up. So it's going to be no good for somebody who's guessing, oh, I think it might go up and it might come down and it might go up and it might come down. It's going to be no good for people who want to trade it. It's only going to be good for investors, not speculators.
Well, the thing about investment versus speculators, to me, to speculate isn't a negative word. I speculate that the weather tomorrow is going to be fine. That's not a negative thing. I say speculate. I'm looking. Spec means eyes, vision. And you speculate that this might happen or that might happen. And every business is a gamble. If you start up a lawn mowing company, you speculate that there'll be enough trade to pay your rent and put food on your table for the next year. So you're speculating. It's not negative. You're not saying, oh, I'm just trying to be greedy here. I'm providing services in lawn mowing. I speculate that I can make maybe $1,000 a week doing my lawn mowing. If I do this business, I'll pay the costs, I'll do the work and so on. That's what speculation is. And to condemn speculation is condemning a word that is actually neutral in its meaning. Now, as far as speculating on margin trading, I agree. I don't much like speculating on margin trading. I've never really done it. I've invested in things that I thought were worthwhile. Just on my father. My father used to invest in Transport Nelson, say they're a good company. I speculate that they will do well over the next few years. So speculation in the longer term is fine. So I'm just saying we've got to stop condemning speculation, because speculation is around us. Everyone in business is doing some sort of speculation. It certainly does mean guessing. It certainly does mean risk. But if you're an entrepreneur, you know what risk is. You don't know where you're going totally. You have confidence. You're not sure. No, I'm not sure totally of BSV. I think it's pretty good. I've done hundreds of hours of research in it. I've invested a little bit in it. So I'm doing fine. But I'm saying we've got to stop saying that BSV is not for speculation, because all the people who are guessing and hoping, they're all going to say, oh, it's no good for speculation. It's a bad investment. It's not going to make me any money. And they run away. So I'm going to say, my approach will be, if possible, and if I get enough agreement, to say, we're not going to use that word much. If people say you're speculating, say, yeah, fine. Same as anyone. Same with Tesla. Same with investing in anything. You're never sure totally what it's going to go. The competitor's going to arrive. There can be a flood that wrecks your building, whatever it is. So I'm speculating this, that. But we're not going to use the word speculation. We're not going to condemn speculation. Does that make sense? Does what I'm saying make sense to you?
Yeah, it's just the definition of the word speculate
Yes.
Is the issue. That's all it is.
Yes, that's right.
I would say because it's like this, BSV, as in like the Bitcoin, I would say is either it either goes to $40 million plus per coin, or it goes to zero. That there's no middle ground. It won't hover around and just last. It would either be a massive bang where literally like it just goes to catastrophic, stratospheric heights in price and becomes the foundation layer of all future digital technology on Earth,
Yeah.
or it will literally go to zero. There's no there's no middle ground
Well,
there.
who knows? I mean, there's so much complexity in this, Satoshi, that we really don't know. I mean,
Yeah, but we know the block reward ends at zero.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what I'm saying.
So unless the block fee surpasses the block reward, and the only way it can surpass the block reward is with volumes of transactions. And if it gets those volumes of transactions on it, then it's only going to go up.
Yeah, those are
That's what we
known
need.
scenarios that you are looking at and you've studied and you know a lot about. What I'm saying is, with everything in business and in technology, there's out of the blue stuff that comes along that changes the scene in ways we cannot anticipate. That's what I'm saying. You can look at what you know and you think you know it all, but then things just come out of nowhere and it just makes everything irrelevant. So, I know what you mean about BSV going to a very, very high value. I appreciate that because of the Internet of Things and the enormous volume of transactions of data and transactions of money using the BSV network. It certainly can go very high. I've said that I suspect that the prices of BSV and BTC will swap sooner or later. And then the BSV price will go beyond what BTC ever did, simply because of the enormity of the traffic of money and data in the new internet. So anyway, let's move on. I'm just saying, I don't think we can. I just hope that we can stop using the word mustn't regard BSV as speculation, because it is a speculation. And in fact, it's the very center of getting attention to BSV, because that's what people want. People want to make money. If they're going to spend on BSV, they're going to have confidence that it's functionally good and it's going to go somewhere. So anyway, that's the point I'm making about speculation. Let's move on. A greedy speculation rush on BSV, similar to what happened with BTC, would cause intense scrutiny of BSV and cause the conversation about BSV. And once the scrutiny is there, then the business people and the IT staff and stuff will say, wow, look at that. It can do transactions at 1/10,000th of a cent. It's scalable to a million transactions per second. This is news to them. We know it, but they don't know it. You say, I'm going to talk to the CEO about this, and we're going to see if we can do a little trial scheme here at Facebook or another enterprise, Boeing or something like that, because it's going to help us a lot. So once we get the attention from saying it's going to be the next big thing, then we get serious engagement with the use of BSV for transmitting value, money, and data. Another thing is that the early adopters can enjoy the price rise, and although they may get very rich, you might think that when they get rich, they say, "I'm never going to sell my BSV," but there will always be a price at which they say, "Yeah, I want to buy a house, or I want to buy a whatever." So it won't eliminate the availability of BSV. It'll just make it pricier and taken more seriously. You feel free to comment, butt in if you want.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that the things are you again you can speculate on you I mean, and Craig knows this, you can speculate on utility until the cows come home, but until Teranode is built and those transactions are there, it's purely speculation. That's why Craig isn't saying anything right now, because he's just like, there's no point, because somebody, you'll say, oh, BSV can do this, somebody else will say, oh no it can't, somebody else will say, oh yes it can, oh no it can't, oh yes it can, oh no it can't. It's just like, it's a complete, that conversation is a complete waste of time.
Right.
You can explain to somebody, this is what it does, this is what it's going to do. And like, I was speaking to someone the other day who was saying that they were actually using the Bitcoin network quite a while ago for tokenizing parts for Formula One cars, because there are so many parts on a Formula, so many intricate parts,
Yeah.
that what you really need in order to have a supply chain is you need to tokenize. You need to have an NFT, of each and every single one of those parts. And when the guys realized the applications for this, they were just like, "Wow, this is massive! This is a game changer." You're literally talking about, this is almost like a digital version of Henry Ford's production line.
Yeah.
Literally, it just speeds up efficiency enormously
Now,
when
are
you
they
can
doing
literally
that now,
tokenize all the parts.
Satoshi? Are they still doing it now?
They will be doing it the moment Teranode comes on.
Oh, okay.
But they were doing it before, and they were just like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" But they couldn't. He said that they were actually contacted by the BSV Association, who were saying that they were minting so many NFTs on the network that they had to basically say, "Well, ask them, like, what are you doing?" And then secondly, tell them that, and that obviously they couldn't say this at the time, but now we know the reason for it.
Okay.
That is that the memory pool would not suffice for that sort of use case, but Bitcoin was built for that use case. Craig did have that use case in mind, but that scaling capacity wouldn't be fully operational until the Bitcoin had gone through the commoditization phase, which was that period of neutral organic growth, and then they would scale Teranode for the sort of use case that these people wanted.
Well, is Teranode available for that now? In other words, could this parts company use it now using the existing level of Teranode available?
I'd probably say not right now, because they're releasing Teranode in phases, and I suspect that's due to a lot of political reasons, because there's a lot of, we're talking about almost a $4 trillion market cap, that there are a lot of people who don't want BSV to absorb the market, because they don't want BSV to exist, because they're protecting their own financial interest in the central banking network. They're going to be like auditing it to make sure it's fully operational, and then literally the transactions literally just have to burst onto the network like a herd of wild wildebeest.
Okay, so my understanding from the discussion I had on meeting four was that BSV was ready to roll now for massive transactions. That was the impression I got. I got the impression that the BSV community in general would be glad to have a rush on customers wanting to use BSV, let alone invest in it. Just that it was ready to roll, that it could cause some headaches, but it was functionally ready. Is that not true?
Well, I think what they're saying is that it's functionally ready for transaction volume, as in like financial transactions that don't carry much data. But if you were going to be minting NFTs for car parts, and the entire world was doing that, I don't think that it would be necessarily ready for that just yet. This is what Teranode is all about.
When then? When will it be ready for pretty much unlimited traffic?
Well, again, the Teranode boys are keeping that under wraps. But I do the Kellen Schwiller countdown every day, and I suspect that's probably a good indication.
I mean, can you give me like a month?
Well, I mean, again, speculation, but I suspect and hope, with my fingers crossed, that Teranode will be fully operational by the 18th of September.
Okay. So that's thank you for that, because I need to know that if I'm going to do promotion.
Well, again, I mean, that's purely speculation.
Yeah,
I'm not guaranteeing that.
That's okay. It's still very useful to me. Okay. So
well, because you have to remember that the Teranode team were actually trying to get Teranode fully operational, before before sort of like the end of but they were trying to do it before quarter 1 and then a little bit into quarter 2. But I sent a message out to them. I said, look, the fate of the world depends on you. Like, do not, well, not saying don't rush it, but take your time. Make sure this is absolutely fully operational, because there is no second chances at this when this launches. Just make sure absolutely everything is fully functional, because the consequences of it going wrong would be catastrophic, and it's just not worth risking.
Okay, hang on a second there. Elon Musk launched, I think, 3 rockets that crashed before he got one to land on its bum. The same thing here. The value is so good. Don't be too fearful about BSV failing and then being a disaster that never returns. That's not true. Unless they find some fundamental thing that is very, very wrong and will never work. And I doubt that, knowing Craig Wright and the technical people involved. So it's
Yeah, but
not a,
the issue is, see, this is where the issue of BSV being a commodity comes into play. So if you were to grow a carrot, and you only sort of like have one carrot, which is represented by the chain of digital signatures, if you were to break that carrot in half, and you try to amend it and put it back together again, well, that wouldn't be an organic process because you are fixing it. And that's your central point of authority and control. Because you're just like, well, I can fix this. Whereas BSV being a commodity cannot afford to be broken. Not ever.
okay.
If
So
it ever gets broken.
okay. So you're saying actually that BSV has the risk of being fragile.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot the chain of digital signatures cannot ever be broken.
Okay.
If that chain of signatures gets broken, that's it.
All right. Hold it. What say you and I, not knowing about BSV at all, got together in a garage and created the equivalent of BSV from scratch without ever knowing about the existing one? It would be a brand new blockchain, wouldn't it? And it would
Yep.
work. Let's say
Yeah.
so. Even if we broke that one, that would mean you lost all credibility in all the transactions that had been done until today, and we'd start afresh, wouldn't we?
Well, so this is the issue. So in order for a digital token to be classified as a commodity, it has to come from a commoditized network. And you can only create a commoditized network if it's gone through a period of neutral organic growth without any central point of influence. So influence where you don't know who the creators are.
Right.
This is why Craig had to hide himself, and stepped away from the project.
Yeah.
The chances of anybody creating a project like this ever again and not being found to be the creators of it is almost impossible because everybody knows everyone in this day and age. The chances of this ever happening again are almost zero.
Clarify
Nil.
that for me. Let's say that the BSV network had some sort of a defect that we could not imagine, but it just died, right? And you and I decided that we'd create another one called Bingo, and it does exactly the same thing. Why would it not be possible to start that again as a commodity? Why couldn't we start the process again? Do you think the governments would not approve it as a commodity?
Oh, well, I mean, the governments would. I mean, the reason Bitcoin got to where it is because the deep state and the government didn't know what it was, and therefore they weren't threatened by it when it was first released. But to give you a classic example of this, so Charlie Lee created Litecoin, and he literally ripped off the code for the Bitcoin network and just copied everything. The only thing he changed was the block time and the supply of coins on his network. But the thing is, he didn't allow for a common starting point. So in other words, he didn't provide a common opportunity for anyone else to start the network. He just simply started it on his own devices. And from the very beginning, he has said, I'm Charlie Lee, I started Litecoin.
Yeah.
And that's your central point of creation, which makes Litecoin a security and not a commodity.
Right. Okay. So he failed because he breached one of the regulatory requirements to create a new commodity.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't do that, would we?
Well, but the thing is that we would have to, our identities would have to remain a mystery for about 10 years. And
10
it's
years?
very, very,
I thought it was 3
10
months.
years. No. So you have to provide a reasonable opportunity for anyone else to start the network, which is 2 months. You can give somebody 2 months reasonable time, but the network would have to grow organically. In other words, distribute itself around the world without any central point of influence. And that neutral organic growth phase would have to go on for about 10 years. This is why Craig was trying to keep himself. Well, he had an added incentive to keep himself hidden because he had the Tulip Trust designated, scheduled to be returned to him on the 1st of January 2020. Which indicated the end of the neutral organic growth phase of the network. Because anybody can create a digital network, a digital commodity, but what they can't replicate is the neutral size and growth of the network. That is what makes the Bitcoin network unique.
All right. Is there any chance that the regulations of that would change? I doubt it, but is it
No.
possible?
It's economic theory. It's you literally have there cannot be for a network or anything to be considered a commodity, there cannot be any central point anywhere in any process.
Okay, but that's a government recognition, right?
No. It's the classification as a commodity.
But
It can't be common.
Who defines it in that way? Who's the
Well,
authority?
that's what the word common is. It applies to everyone. Common law, common sense, common knowledge, tragedy of the commons, commodity.
But somebody defined that classification and that definition, didn't they?
But
It's written down.
if it's not common, then it's securitized and it has no value to me. It's only valuable to me if there is no central point anywhere in the system, because therefore nobody has any control of it.
Yeah, I'm a little hazy on that because I thought the network by its functionality was independent of centralized control.
Well, there's a difference between somebody maintaining a network and somebody controlling a network.
Yeah.
If you control it, you can make changes to it that nobody else would know about. You effectively have anonymity. Whereas like people often say, oh, Craig Wright controls BSV. Well, he doesn't. All he's doing is maintaining the protocol as it was when it first started. He's just maintaining it. He's not controlling it.
Okay, I'm a little hazy there, but I'll take your word for it. Let's move on. I'm sobered by what you say. I don't think it stops the momentum of thought about promoting it, but it does make BSV look a little more fragile, especially regarding the readiness. But we can wait until September to see
Well,
whether.
the fragility of BSV will be wiped away the moment Teranode comes on, transaction volumes go through the roof, and all the various Bitcoin miners all around the world all point their hash rate towards the network, which means it then has a huge mining foundation, and the chances of the network ever breaking or going offline or anything like that is massively minimized because you'll have all the BTC miners switching their hash rate over to BSV, and they're distributed all around the world. So the chances of attacking the network or taking it down is dramatically reduced, almost impossible.
Oh, okay. Now, so if you had Craig Wright sitting beside you right now, would you expect him to say, Bruce, you mean well, but as far as all this publicity stuff about BSV, it's better to wait until September or October?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you
Okay.
just get shouted down.
Well, I'm not too scared about getting shouted down. I'm more concerned with whether it harms the adoption of BSV. Because my feeling has been until now that if we overnight made BSV a sensational possibility as a hedge against the bubble crash of BTC, and millions of people said, I'm going to at least buy 10 BSVs just in case, it's only going to cost me, $350 to do that, but I've got, say, $10,000 worth of BTC, I'm going to be able to sleep easy on that. I'm going to invest in BTC. I'm going to buy BTC. And that would draw attention to BSV, not just as an investment, but also people would be talking endlessly about how cheap the transactions were, how low carbon it was. And then they'd be looking at BTC and they'd say, oh, look at that. It uses a house month of electricity for one transaction compared with BSV using boiling a kettle for 12 minutes, same as MasterCard. And they'd be saying, well, it's much more moral, it's much more effective. It can carry both the data of the whole new internet and the transactions between anyone to anywhere on the planet. So we can get paid for a like on our social networking, or we can give somebody 100th of a cent. And if they get 10,000 of those, they've made some money. So it looks good to me. I'm going to at least buy 10 BSV. Now, if the 10 BSV comes from millions of people, and the point I'm making is the news of this, the talk about it as BSV being the real thing and possibly BTC seeming even more likely to crash because it can't do those things, that means that BSV climbs. It gets the CEOs and it gets the IT officers and stuff in all over the world, the governments start saying, hey, we've got, $25 million worth of BTC. We've got our pants down. We'd better at least buy some BSV. And it would cause the climb down from BTC and would cause the climb into BSV. Even now, without the proven functionality, if people were investing on it, it would cause such attention. There'd be a lot more favor of BSV. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Huh?
There's only two things you would need to consider. One, just make sure that you're not giving financial advice because the authorities
Right,
can take
right,
you down for that, and you can be sued for that, and blah 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 blah.
right.
And the second thing is you have to understand how disruptive the BSV technology is because there are a lot of nefarious entities out there who don't want this, and this is
True.
one of the reasons why I never show my face.
Right, right, right. Um, okay, yeah, I understand that. There is a risk there, but it's the same thing with introducing electric cars against the petroleum and automotive industry. It causes rage. So I understand that. The same thing, somebody invents a tractor instead of having farming by shovel and horse and bullock. That's the nature of entrepreneurship into better technology, step changes. They've always been like that.
Well, it's probably more like those engineers and scientists that have come up with free energy devices and water powered cars. They get bumped off or disappeared real quick.
Well, I mean, if you understand physics, you realize that a perpetual motion machine is not credible. If you think of the first and second laws of thermodynamics, you cannot create energy out of nothing. It's fairyland.
Yeah, but the ether exists 450 feet above us, which is just free energy.
Well, if you can channel energy that's there, fine. But I
Yeah,
haven't
well,
yet
people
seen
have people have
anything.
done that.
Well,
I've
I'd need
seen
to
it.
see evidence of that. But
Yeah, well, like take for example magnetic dynamos. They'll pretty much go on for at least your lifetime.
well, it depends whether you accept the idea of the conservation of energy or not. I mean, that's physics. I don't want to get into that because there's a lot of misunderstanding of physics, and there's a lot of magical thinking that suggests you can just get something for nothing at all.
Ah.
Okay. So I have a few doubts now about what I'm doing, but the main thought of it is that its BSV is not quite ready yet for safety. So promotion of it now is not necessarily a good idea.
Well, what I would do is just I would promote it, but in the private. That's what I try and do. Yeah, educate people on it one to one, because if you become a mouthpiece, you'll become a target.
Yeah, that's I am aware of that, and it's a thought in my mind. Anyway, I mean, if could BSV be brought online in a controlled manner or not? In other words, if let's say that a big player like Boeing decided, or X decided, yeah, that's the real McCoy, can it be limited in how much of BSV functionality is available? In other words, so it can't be crashed. Is that possible?
Yeah. It's unlimited. Literally, the Teranode will absorb the entire world's internet traffic. There's literally no scaling limit.
Okay, so that's once it's ready, but you were saying that you didn't feel that they were comfortable yet to bring it fully on stream. So is it an all-out, yes, it's ready and can handle anything, or is it's going to be ready for at least this many customers who we will choose or not?
Well, it all depends on when it transitions from using a memory pool, which it currently has, to using subtrees, which is what the Teranode uses.
What I'm getting at is if I'm a really big player and I want to get in early and use it because I've seen the light. Somebody at a bus stop explained to me what it was, and I said, I want that. I want to be an early adopter. Can I
Well,
get
just
in?
buy it. Just buy it. Just
Okay,
buy
so
it because you'll be buying
okay,
it to use anyway.
all right. So let's say I buy 1,000 BSV, right? And that's good enough for. Let's say it's Boeing. Let's just pretend that it's Boeing. They buy 1,000 BSV. They transform their operation using BSV. So all of a sudden, there's a big blip in a big rise in the use of BSV, which raises a lot of attention. It probably increases the value of BSV a bit.
Well, it'll increase the block fee certainly, which will attract the miners.
Okay, so somebody starts using it seriously. What say then 20 other corporations read about it in the New York Times and they say, we've got to get in there too. Is that going to crash the BSV network?
No, not with Teranode. Literally, all it will do is there'll be because you can't access the Bitcoin network without buying Bitcoin. So there'll be a scramble, to to
Yeah.
to to buy it. That's what
Okay, but
that's
what
what's
happens
going to
if
trigger it.
what happens? Let's say that Boeing was talking beside me at a bus stop today and they want to do that before the Teranode. What happens?
Well, again, they would just be limited by the memory pool. So the memory pool can suffice for worldwide global transactions. Like if Visa, Mastercard, all the central banks wanted to use it for all their internet purchases and internet banking facilities and everything like that, it could more than suffice for that. But what it probably couldn't cater for was large single data file transactions like images and videos, things like that.
Yeah, so Google say we want to use it for our YouTube. That wouldn't work.
Not in its current condition, no.
Okay, now what would happen? That I asked Kurt this. I said, does that break the BSV network? What does it do? Does it shame it? Does it slow down? What is the reality of the experience if Google and YouTube decided to use BSV before Teranode? What is the effect practically?
They just wouldn't be able to use it to upload large file sizes,
You
and
mean
and
it would deny service?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Okay, so they try to
yeah.
upload you. I would be trying to upload a video on YouTube and say, sorry, come back in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, because also the miners wouldn't be prepared to upload unusually large file sizes.
Okay,
Whereas if large file sizes are not unusual and everybody's using it for large file sizes because everybody's uploading their video content, then yeah, miners will do that. But they're not going to spend their time to upload a one-off extremely
okay,
large transaction because
okay,
they would have to make alterations to their
okay.
systems.
All right. So BSV would in fact fail if it was heavily loaded now.
Yeah.
So it's no use promoting it now because it's going to cause trouble.
Yeah.
That's important.
But the thing is, what you can do is you can tell people about its potential, and then they're like, oh, well, that actually sounds really good. Well, how do I use it? Well, you use it by buying the coin. And chances are there's going to be a lot of other people who are going to find that use case extremely valuable, and they'll all be buying the coin as well, which means the coin is likely going to rise. So what you need to do is get in there first.
Okay, so basically you're saying it's fine for money transactions, but it's not fine for heavy data.
Yeah.
All right. Now let's say that lots of people say, yeah, I'm into it. I'm going to speculate on it because it's going to go up. It's a great new future for us. And I'm going to buy 10 or 20 BSV. So they're happily doing lots of transactions. What's to stop Google and YouTube saying, well, we want to use for data as well. You can handle that. Here, take this, million terabyte traffic we've got. Does that cripple the payment system?
How do you mean cripple the payment
In
system?
other words, people are happily using BSV as its money transaction ability, micropayments. And then a heavy duty business, or a bunch of them, decide to use it for trafficking data. and they overload the data. But does the payment system then fail as well because of the overload of data?
Yeah, because it's all data. So the memory pool, like I think when Craig said in the email to Mike Hearn, he said Bitcoin can already scale much larger than V. I think he said the internet does something like I can't remember how many million internet purchases per day worldwide. He said Bitcoin can already scale much larger than that.
That's for transactions, not for data, though.
Oh well, it was for internet. Yeah, it was for internet purchase
Yeah, that's right.
transactions. So
But we
small
can't
amounts of
separate the
data.
two. We can't separate the two. So BSV is in danger of crashing if it's heavily loaded.
Oh well, it wouldn't crash. People just simply wouldn't be able to upload
That's
a
crashing.
movie
To me,
file or
that's
a.
crashing. That's crashing because it's failing to do what it's promised to do.
Oh well, the miners just simply wouldn't process the request.
Sure. What I'm saying is, as far as the customers are concerned, they won't like it and they'll reject it.
Oh well, the customers wouldn't know that it could do that anyway. They'll discover that it can do that when Teranode is active because
Yeah,
loads of
okay.
people will be using it for that.
Yeah, my point is, in the period between now and the Teranode going live and handling anything is a danger period.
I would say it's a good opportunity to speculate.
Yes, true. It's good for speculating, but not for use. So any publicity, if I went rah-rah on and managed to get some supporters to do big advertising and publicity towards BSV, that would be, it would have to include the message that it's not ready. It's only going to be ready in September or later.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to have to rethink this because it seems as though there is a risk now that I didn't know. I was understanding from the last meeting '04 that BSV was really ready to roll no matter what the traffic. But from what you're saying, it's not ready to roll for the massive traffic that could happen if several big players overloaded it beyond what Teranode, before Teranode could cope with that. And that could damage the reputation of BSV.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm grateful for you telling me that because it's made me much more careful. I'd have to think again how I promote BSV. It still, I think, remains a very good speculation, shall we say, in the price going up because it competes with BTC, and especially the marvelous word hedge against a BTC bubble pop and crash.
Yeah.
It's just not as hot as it was when I was assured that it could handle any traffic now because it can't.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a very useful conversation to me. I'll have to think again. I'm not as excited as I was. It just means I have to wait. Personally, for investment reasons, it suits me if we doubled the price of BSV by October. That was kind of amusing to some of the others in meeting '04, but it's really not a vital thing. I can manage my finances in other ways anyway, but it just would suit me very well.
Well, I mean, again, I mean, Gavin was saying that the Teranode team seemed to be ahead of schedule, so it might be before September. Who knows? But there we've seen lots of movements of 80,000, 120,000, BTC, and then other 10,000 movements. It looks like someone somewhere is gearing up for something substantial to happen.
Yeah.
Because the network needs the three things. It needs it needs transaction volume, it needs price movement, and it needs hash rate, all to come at once, which is what will likely happen.
Okay. All right. Well, I think you've answered my questions, and I'm going to have to rethink what I'm doing. I think things are okay. It's not happening as fast as I thought it could because I was assured that it would handle whatever it is, whatever traffic arrived. But I'm just a little nervous that we could anger the market by making promises of it handling huge amounts of transactions and it actually fails. We do not want that at all.
Yeah. I mean, this is why Craig, isn't promoting that. It's kind of
Okay.
like it will there's like I said, it's speculating. There's no point in saying it might be because somebody else will know it can't. Yeah, it can. No, it
Yeah.
can't.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it can.
Right.
Yeah, blockchain can't scale. Store of value
Yeah.
bollocks. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So Craig is just going to be like, there you go. That settles it. Terranode's live.
Yeah.
It can now
Yeah.
absorb the world's internet traffic. Told you so.
In my channel on meeting '04, we discussed the idea of getting, if possible, an interview with Joe Rogan about the BSV versus BTC issue, because I see that as a spectacular and very effective way of getting attention to BSV and its functionality, and all the things we've talked about in this meeting here about the public being aware that their BTC is in grave danger of being overtaken by a truly functional network BSV, and having the advanced choice of saying, well, I should at least hedge a bit by putting a few puny $35 lots of BSV into my portfolio in case. So as long as the message is it's not going to be here until at least September, that's fine. As long as we don't get people saying, well, I'm going to dump a huge amount of traffic onto it. But I'll have to rethink this.
Mm.
But thank you for your advice. I'm grateful for that because it helped me a lot.
Good.
Have we covered enough ground to finish the meeting?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's been great.
All right, good. Thank you for participating.
You're welcome, Bruce.
I'll see you
Always
in
a
your
pleasure.
podcasts. Bye for now.
Cheers, mate. See you later. Bye.